to the Emirates NBD Global Business Series, an initiative by Intelligent SME. The Intelligent SME platform comprises of a premium business magazine, a B2B portal, social media, and events. ISME has always been engaging with CEOs and decision makers of many businesses. These interactions have been the inspiration behind this very event. The Emirates NBD Global Business Series is an occasion to meet with business icons and corporate executives who influence the business community. The idea behind the series is to inspire entrepreneurs and senior executives to reach great heights of success. These business icons are carefully chosen and will provide all of us with profound insights and guidance that will help us achieve our aspirations. The successful journey of Intelligent SME would not have been possible without the consistent support of all our sponsors, partners, and well-wishers. A special note of gratitude to our strategic alliance partners, Dubai SME, and our sponsor, Emirates NBD Business Banking. We also thank our gold sponsor, the Porsche Center Dubai Al Nabuda Automobiles. The car that you must have seen out on display is the Panamera GTS. It's a perfect example of the Porsche philosophy of intelligent performance, which is befitting of this evening. Now, there are some exclusive offers, and to know more, please contact Mohammed Yassin. Mohammed is somewhere around here. Ma'am, if you could please stand up. Yes, sir, sorry. Please stand up. Thank you so much. So do contact Mohammed to get in touch with him and find out some exclusive offers for the Panamera GTS. We would like to welcome VLCC, our well-being partner. VLCC and ISME have teamed up to bring out a new column in our magazine, Fit CEO, in which we will focus on not just eating right and physical fitness, but living a healthy and pleasant life and letting you focus on your business and with peace of mind. We also like to thank our associate sponsors, Al Nabuda Insurance Brokers, Petrochem Middle East, Bryce Buzz, AIG SME Insurance Solutions, and our media partners, Khalij Times, Star Plus, and Life OK. We also thank Do for their continuous support for this event. Thank you all. SPI Publishing is eager to bring to you 2 new magazines, Robust Track and Apps Middle East, very shortly. Now, the event itself. It's our pleasure to welcome our guest of honor this evening, Mr. Mishal Kanoo, Deputy Chairman of the Kanoo Group. Mr. Kanoo will be felicitated by Ashfaq Rasool Matu, Vice President, Head of Sales and Distribution, Business Banking. Escort Mr. Kanoo to the stage and felicitate him. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mishal Kanoo, starting off proceedings. Thank you so much. Now, I guess you do not want to see much more of me, but Mr. Kanoo is speaking, and the gentleman that will be sitting besides Mr. Kanoo. If you have attended our events before, you do not need an introduction of this man that sits beside our icon today. However, it is my duty to introduce you to our moderator of this session. Tariq Qureshi is the founder and CEO of Vantage Holdings. He is also the media representative and advisor for Bloomberg TV. He previously was also the publisher of the Times Sunday in the Middle East and regional director EMEA for Dow Jones Markets. Tariq, may I call upon you to take over the days and the evening's celebrations. Sir.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My God, it's a full house. It's lovely to see so many people in here. Actually, you know, we wanted to have a larger room, but this is something that Apple used to excel in, is whenever they had a media and a PR meeting, they used to take a smaller room and then fill it up. That's sort of what we've done today. Today is a very interesting and for me a very important day, because Mishal is a dear friend. I've known him, and I saw him first in 2002, I think it was, and this was at the Meridian Hotel near the airport, and he was speaking on family business. And since then, I have been tracking a lot of his activities and so on. As this slide says, he is one of the most recognizable and one of the most charismatic Arab leaders, business leaders that we have. So we're very fortunate to have him here today. In addition, he represents, as the deputy chairman of Kanoo Group, that just to set the context and the tone of the size of this organization. Kanoo Group has been in business for 123 years. They set up in Bahrain in 1890. It is one of those very, very select few organizations in this part of the world, for that matter, any part of the world, that has gone beyond the first 2 or 3 generations in terms of their business. They are now on their 5th or 6th generation now. This organization has had a lot of firsts, the first shipping lines in the region, the first IATA, the travel license in the region, and many other innovations. Today, they are, as reported by Arabian Business, between $6 to $7 billion in terms of their business lines. They employ between 4,000 to 5,000 people. And very relevant for today's session is the fact that they directly and indirectly support a lot of the small, medium enterprises and the entrepreneurs that are represented here today. Mishal there are a lot of adjectives that have been used for him. And as we go forward, here's a young man, probably at his university. These are some of the adjectives that you will encounter throughout today and whenever you meet up with him. These are amongst his key attributes: charismatic, controversial, provocative. And today, the essence of what we're going to be discussing is from the heart, up close and personal. And we sat for a few minutes together, and today there are no holds barred. And this is a closed environment, so we can actually say a lot of things today. He loves books. He loves education. His passion goes beyond just learning. He's actually teaching in Sharjah, and before that in the US. And he's just disappeared. Passionate, philanthropic, outspoken, gifted. These are some of the phrases that you will, and some of the words and adjectives that you will see and hear over the next 1 hour or so. I hope this helps to set the context of an amazing icon, and let's let the games begin. Mishal, welcome. The first question, Mishal, is, in your early days as you were setting out, you were a young man, who influenced you the most? What really affected your life when you were in your teens? Dad, mom, friends?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First, if you don't mind me saying, I'd like to first thank you and thank SMI and EMBD for allowing me this opportunity to be able to stand and talk to yourselves about something, hopefully not necessarily about myself, because really I'm secondary. What's more primary is to be able to talk about ideas and thoughts, which is at the end of the day what we all will at one point or another excel at. To be able to understand how things happen for me, a lot of people are usually in this part of the world, when people talk, they usually say, my father did that, it's my father did this, or my friends did that, or I saw this business person. I will tell you unabashedly that the most influential person in my life is, I don't know, but will be, because my daughter is growing older, so maybe she'll influence me, my mother. And the reason I say that, all of us grow up in a cocooned environment in and around of our mothers. They help us grow, they help us understand, they help us create a world around us. Now, I'm not trying to discount father's role, because I am one, and I certainly hope to God I'm helping my children understand what their life is going to be like. But in reality, it's always going to be the mother that's going to help influence how the child understands things. And my mother did that to me. As I was growing up, surprise, surprise, I was a spoiled brat. I really did believe the world revolved around my stupid little head. As I discovered very quickly from my mother that it did not. And I remember one specific moment, I was 7 years old, where my mother taught me one of the best lessons I ever learned. Our cook had put a bit more spice than I could tolerate as a 7-year-old. So I threw a tantrum. I called the cook, and ranted and chanted and said a lot of things. My mother just went quietly, shut, didn't say anything, allowed me to go and say everything I wanted to say. And when I finished, she went quiet. In the afternoon, she said, "Come with me." I said, "Okay." So, eagerly, going, where's my mother going to take me? Are there any toys going to be purchased? As usually, every child wants to think that he's going to get a toy. And she took me to, I don't know if you, for those who've been here for at least 20 or 30 years, there used to be a place which now has gone. In the back of the Jumeirah Mosque, there used to be old houses over there. And they used to be occupied by less to do people, for lack of another way of describing it. And they were really bad, worse off economically. It was seriously bad economically speaking. They were not going to ever aspire to anything important because the nature of the environment they were in. And you could see how poor they were. And my mother, before we went there, took me to Satwa, and we bought crates of oranges and apples. And she took me there, and she said, "I want you to knock on those doors, and I want you to take bags of apples and oranges and give it to them." Well, it's a very strange thing to ask a 7-year-old. When I did that, of course, the moment the door opens, you can see straight inside the house. You can see the type of living that people live in. And it struck me at that moment that I was a spoiled brat. And I understood clearly that there are people who are underprivileged. And if I don't do something in my life, then I am no better off than they will be. I will not be better off than they are today. And I don't want that. I wouldn't want that for myself. I wouldn't want that for anyone. So that was one of the best lessons I actually had as a child growing up, because it taught me to understand no matter how high you are, no matter how much you achieve, you have to understand you are no better off than anyone else, no matter how many people tell you how wonderful you are. And if you stay with that mindset, then you can be ready to appreciate anyone being able to tell you what you've done is wrong. And one of the things, by the way, that what also helped me, within our family, we're taught this very clearly. The concept of saying please and thank you. All the time. Please, thank you. I mean, how many people here who are being served will take the time to say to the person who's just come in and brought them the thing, thank you. And I think that person has put an effort and energy to bring you something so that you don't have to do that. So understanding those aspects allows a person to understand what his or her position is in life. Because we are very prone, as humans, we're very prone, the moment people start building us up, to actually start believing that lie.
My follow-on question, you've already answered most of it, and that was that you were born in a privileged environment. A lot of people here must potentially have a filter, saying, well, his family has been around, they have a huge business, and so on, so he's never seen a difficult day in his life. Have you ever seen difficult days in your life?
Well, if you're going to compare my life with that of the people I mentioned,
yes.
Hell no, I haven't. If you're going to compare my life to that person who's living, what you call it, in jet setting, yeah, I have. So it depends on how you define that. So a difficult life. Now, there's physical difficulties,
sure,
and there's mental difficulties, and there are emotional difficulties. Any of them at one time or another would have affected me.
Sure.
Now, to what degree? When my father passed away, that was an incredible emotional roller coaster. Now, for me, that was an incredibly difficult time.
Sure.
The idea of having a difficult time is a relative term. For me, if you're talking about going one day without eating, I have not experienced that.
Sure.
And I cannot imagine experiencing that. And I don't want to experience that. Not for myself, but no for anyone else. I can't imagine what a horrible thought it is. Now, the closest thing I've come to is when I fast.
Sure. I think the essence of the question really was that a lot of people here are working through their lives and they're struggling and so on, and they have a different journey. Your father sadly passed away when you were a young man. Who else was there to guide you, to take you through the paces and take you, and basically, fine-tune you and polish you? Was it your uncle? Was it, how did it actually happen?
I'm sorry. Being part of a family business, it's actually one of the hardest things in terms of interacting with your family.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, you have the family bond. On one hand, you have the family bond, and on the other hand, you have the business issues. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they overlap.
Yeah.
And that becomes exceptionally hard. So to be able to tell you who helped me along, I cannot specifically think of a person, yet I'm sure a lot of the people at one point or another influenced me. Talking to people, listening to people, hearing other people, seeing other people, whether it's in the business, whether it was in my personal life. I cannot specifically pinpoint that, but all of them helped create something which is the person who's standing in front of you.
Right. Just to humanize you a little bit, you apparently joined your company, your business, at the age of 17. What sort of...
No, 21.
Ah, okay. Because some of the research was that you started at 17, you did lots of stupid things, and then you came back later.
I don't know who told you that, but no, I definitely started at 21.
So, okay. So at 21, you're still stupid, aren't you?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Anyone who thinks he's not stupid at 21, please raise your hand, and I'll show you a stupid person. Sorry.
So what kind of screw-ups did you do? Was it arrogance? Was it...
Where does one begin in terms of stupidity? The best example I can give you, and by the way, this happened to me in a financial capacity. I was 21, 22. One of the things of growing older, the memory starts to fade. I was actually 26 because it was the start of the internet. 96, 95, 96, 97. Along those lines. And of course, thinking, wow, I can now start investing. And that's exactly what I did. I started investing and putting money. And it really didn't take a brain or a genius for people to make money in those days. It really didn't. My uncle, God rest his soul, said once about in the 70s, he said a donkey could make money in the 70s in this part of the world. I can think of many of them.
Who shall remain nameless, of course.
Of course. But I started to invest and thinking, I'm a genius. I know how things work. And I thought I was so smart. I took margin calls. I started taking things on margin. Because, God damn it, I know how things work. And I used to sit and look at my family members who refused to get into this business, into the investing in the internet. And I used to think, I'm smart. You're not. And one day, I will show you. And then the internet bubble burst. And I realized how stupid I was. Because instead of understanding every aspect of companies, I was doing what everyone was doing, buying into a dream.
Yeah.
And what happens sometimes, it's good to dream, but as long as it's your dream and not somebody else's dream you're buying into.
Now, you wanted to be an architect.
Yes, that was my dream.
Then you tried your hand at computer science or so on, at least you considered it. But you ended up becoming an economist.
Yes, I know, strange.
And a financial person. So what was the catalyst there?
Okay, there was two things. And when I was in my university, I had a professor who happened to be the dean of the computer science school, and she really hated me. So that killed that one, because no matter how much I tried, I was always the bad person, and so that died. And I had in the States you could do this. I don't know if in the UK or in other countries you can do this, but in the States you can call yourself undeclared as a major for a while. And that's what happened. And then one day I sat down with my friend who had an exam in economics. And he was too lazy to even go to the exam. And the economics book was on the floor. And I said, do you mind if I read it? And he goes, go ahead. And I opened it. And the quote that stuck in my head, which was the best quote I have read in a long time. No two economists agree on one thing. I said, I cannot be wrong. This is fantastic. I love this. And
so that was your cop-out.
Yes, exactly. And then also going into the course itself, I started to enjoy macroeconomics. I really dislike microeconomics. It's a mindset. I like strategy and macro-looking things. I'm absolutely useless as far as micro or to manage people.
Now, moving forward, still staying with education for just a couple of minutes. One of your quotes is, and I'm sure you know what I'm about to get to, is to educate people and train monkeys.
Yes.
What were you referring to when you said that?
Well, it's simple. We do train monkeys, correct?
We do, but are you referring to people as monkeys or monkeys as monkeys?
I'll leave that to you. So imagine what you want to imagine. But when people are trained, I'm teaching you a repetitive action. I'm not asking you to be cognitive about it. I'm not asking you to think about it. I'm asking you just to repeat the same action. Yeah. And if we can do that with a monkey, it's really not that much harder to do it with a human. On the other hand, when you educate a person, you're telling that person, don't repeat what I'm doing, understand what I'm doing, and then if you build on it and do something better than me, so much the better. But I want to engage this part of you. And this is the problem. We don't, I'm sorry to say this, in the world, it's become more the norm to engage people in repeating things. We do not want to engage the minds. At the end of the day, this is the most dangerous weapon you have. It's not a gun. It's not a bullet. It's not a knife. It's this. Because the moment you think, it's the moment you threaten people. The problem is, those people who get threatened by your thoughts and ideas are those people who, well, deserve to go. And those people who are not threatened or are encouraged by that are the ones who you want to see more of. I want more people to challenge me. I want more people to argue with me and to best me. Because at the end of the day, when you do that, you raise my bar up, not bring it down. You cause me to think more. If I think more, then I will challenge you, and I will challenge you to think more. One of the things, by the way, one of the best things I ever did in my life, to be honest, was to learn chess. Because if you play chess, while the board is literally, it's made up of pieces and the blocks, and you have limited movements that you can do, you have to learn within that capacity, within the board, what moves to make, how to anticipate people's moves, how to think about what they're going to do, to understand where they're going to come from. And by the way, be ready to be surprised by people who are more intelligent than you are. Because that's how you learn your mistakes and correct them, hopefully.
Let's look at Kanoo Group and go back into it. Over the last 20, 25 years since you've been working with them, from a young intern
wow,
to...
it's been that long.
Absolutely. From a young intern to a deputy chairman, what was the journey? And what were the amazing things that you did? I mean, your dad, your uncle, your grandfather did wonderful things. What did Mishal Kanoo do?
Nothing.
Well, so
I did absolutely nothing.
Okay.
The only thing I will credit myself with doing is to empower the people who can do things to do things, rather than me saying, oh, I've done it. This is, by the way, this is a symptomatic thing that we have, that I've seen at least in this part of the world, where people are more than happy to take other people's credits for other people's work. And I think I find this despicable. If a person has done something, encourage them. Say that they've done it. Push them, not over the cliff, hopefully, but push them forward. Help them get to what they want to get. Because the more they do things that are better, the more your life gets better. And you should never be threatened. And really, you should never be threatened by people who are better than you. It helps. It helps that they are better than you, so you can move forward. But again, the idea of being able to help people has to resonate in our heads. At this point in time, people are more than happy to say, I've done this. Why? Why do you need to know what I've done? It's important that the person who is on the receiving end of it